Attitude check. Bronco Pike.
Hey there, Bronco fans, and welcome inside of the Chancellor Suite here at Nick Gerald Stadium and live on the Broncos Sports Network for Week 8 edition of the Pigskin Press Talk. We're talking Bronco football with just 2 weeks to go in the regular season. Fayetteville State off of homecoming weekend, now getting ready to hit the road to Charlotte, North Carolina for a matchup against the Johnson C. Smith Golden Bulls. We're getting ready to talk about that one. I'm Andrew Chapman, your host, joined by the head coach Richard Hayes as usual, and a couple of Bronco football players joining us on the show today as well. It's running back DJ Alston and linebacker Jamari Slade making his second appearance on the show this season. We're so glad to have you with us. Thanks for joining us. And Coach Hayes, getting ready to go on the road here against Johnson C. Smith. First, coming off of homecoming weekend, it was another football game where the Broncos find themselves in the final moments of the game, driving up the field, trying to get into scoring position, and just a field goal to tie the game to send it to overtime comes up about a yard short into the wind, 38-35. The final score is Shaw is able to sneak one out. How do you just encapsulate this season and all those critical moments that you guys have had in the fourth quarter and just your team's need to execute in those critical moments all season? What do you chalk it up to?
Inexperience in some areas. Like I told you earlier, we've taken the lead at every home game within the last 2 minutes of the game, only to see the other team go down and score. It's been a deficiency in our secondary all year, and we know that, and we're trying to fix that part of it. But it's just been a part of us, not the youth of our secondary. Other teams being able to execute and us not being able to execute defensively at the end of the game. But then giving kudos to our offense for being able to bounce back and take the ball down the field in each and every game and get us back into position to win the game. Unfortunately, this time around, John fell a little short on the field goal, or they would have tried to push it to overtime. But we're going to continue to coach these kids. It was a tough loss, tough homecoming game. It was an exciting homecoming game, but it was a tough loss for us. It knocked us out of championship contention. It's a real different feeling around here right now, but we're going to continue to coach. Like I said, we want to finish the season strong. Johnson C. Smith is next on deck. They're having an outstanding season, and so we're just going to continue to try to get ready for those guys and make the best of us the rest of the season. Yeah, it puts the Broncos at 2-3 in conference play, 3-4 overall. That kick that we mentioned from John Hernandez Vargas, it was dead center. The wind just knocking it down just slightly, about a yard short in that 3-point differential at the end of the day. We did get to see a couple of new Broncos hit the field on the offensive side of things, Coach. Brylan Vincent really stood out to us up in the booth. The running back freshman out of ZB Vance High School in Charlotte. You got another one from that high school. Scores his first career touchdown, and he looks explosive, sharp for you. What did you think about the freshman's performance? Hey, he's a really sharp freshman. And it's taking everything we've had to hold him back this year. But we were able to get him in the game and let him show what he could do. He's shown flashes in a couple of other games this year. But we're really proud of having Braylon here. He's behind a couple of good ones in DJ and Bryce and Julian. But he's going to wait his turn, and hopefully in a couple of years he'll be the guy to be able to do his thing and show all of his talents. Well, let's talk to a couple of the veterans on the football team who are here with us today, starting with DJ Alston. DJ made an appearance on the show last year, but just to reintroduce him to you, the Raleigh native, DJ tailback, and coming off a nice game against Shaw, 94 yards, a season high for you, DJ. What seemed to work for you in that one? What sort of lanes were you finding throughout the day, and it led to one of your best performances of the season?
So in practice, I broke off a lot of big runs in practice, running zone all week, and it just translated to the game. Line saw it in practice, and they saw the same thing in the game, and I was able to execute it and break off big runs.
How about the football background for you? Raleigh native, as we mentioned. When did you start playing high school, or should say football, just as a kid? And was the running back position always something that you kind of gravitated towards?
I started playing football around third grade. My first position was guard, and then I translated to like a linebacker, Sam type deal. I didn't really start playing running back full time until my sophomore year of high school.
Were you one of the bigger third graders then? They put you on the offensive
Nah,
line to
I was
start,
a
or-
little twig. They called me slowpoke because I was slow.
Slowpoke. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of changed over time then, huh? You found a little bit of agility over your years. You know, you come from a family background as well that has CIAA alums. Both of your parents graduated from ECSU. They're Elizabeth City State Viking alums. How much did you know about the CIAA growing up, or were you around sporting events from the conference at all?
I've been to a couple of Elizabeth City practices growing up, but not really. Every now and then, my parents take me to homecoming with them, but really, not really. My sister went to Elizabeth City as well, so coming down for her during her homecomings, and when she was cheerleading back in Elizabeth City and playing softball, I'll be over there with them.
So a little bit of exposure to the conference growing up. Your college career started at East Carolina University, and then eventually you transfer over to the Fayetteville State program. When you were making that decision, obviously a big one early on in college for you, what were some of the things that just really stood out about the Fayetteville State program that made you want to be a part of it?
So I picked Fayetteville State because, one, it's a championship mentality here. It's not just only on the football team, but it's all sports throughout Fayetteville State. And I feel like it was a competition between basketball, football, softball, any sports that's going to the CIAA championship. So it's not just competition in football, it's competition between all sports here.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously the Broncos are glad to have you come over from East Carolina and making a big impact in the running game. You know, you've talked about a little bit, I know in your bio as well, you have some coaching aspirations possibly after your playing career. Is being involved in the game beyond a player something that you look forward to?
Yeah,
in the
most
future?
definitely. I like spending my time watching film, helping others, making sure everybody knows what they're doing. I take pride in the little stuff, little details, making sure my steps is right, my eyes is where it's supposed to be, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned watching film. I think this guy to my left here, Jamari Slade, watched a fair amount going into the homecoming matchup because he came away with 17 tackles in total, a season high for you, Jamari. Run us through that game. Did you just feel like the Shaw offense kept funneling things towards your direction, and what led you to being so active at the linebacking core?
Well, being the 17 tackles, some of them came downfield, which we're going to eliminate this week. But being able to run sideline to sideline, just being able to get my hands on the guy with the ball, it played a big part. Just reading the keys and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was your second game over the last few weeks where you finished with north of 10 tackles, but the 17, as we mentioned, a season high for you. How about your football background growing up? Who were some of the defensive players maybe, or just football players in general that you watched and idolized growing up?
Cam Chancellor, Ray Lewis, Luke Kuechly, they all guys that love to get to the ball, hit the running back, leave a feeling on them. So that's what I plan to do.
Yeah, you play one of the more physically demanding positions on the football field, so not shying away from contact, that's something that you've always kind of embraced?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What were some of the positions that you played, at least growing up and your early days of football?
Most, like DJ over there, first year playing football, I played center. Flag football, I played center. So
yeah,
learning
how to snap it?
Yeah, learn how to snap.
Nice. Well, I was going to say, some of the former Broncos that helped to bring you into the program when you were a freshman, you've been a part of these CIAA championship teams over the years, but now you're obviously one of the upperclassmen leaders. But when you first got here, who were some of the guys that you looked up to and kind of took you under their wing?
Jerome Bentley, Gerald Simpson, Kenny Merritt, Joshua Williams, Keyshawn James, all those guys helped me learn the defense. De La Rosa took me under his wing, helped me learn the defense. We still run most of the stuff now, so.
Yeah, I know I saw Gerald Simpson down on the sideline, and Kenny Merritt was also in the building for homecoming weekend as well. How much did you get to actually find time to interact with some of those guys beyond just the football game?
I talk to G sometimes on the phone. But most of the time, I've been busy with football, watching film, school.
Yeah, probably cool, though, to see some of those alums each and every year as they've graduated on, come hang out on the sideline. Yeah, that's a cool moment. You've been a winner as well through all levels of football. You were a state champion at Mount Tabor High School, and you also have a CIAA championship ring as well, going back to that 2022 season. You've made a lot of good memories over your football career. I have a lot of good stories to tell. What's it mean to you, though, to be able to achieve that peak success at the two different levels, and how do you think that'll kind of carry on throughout your life and being able to tell those stories?
I mean, telling the stories is going to be great. 2 championships, 1 in high school, 1 in college. Plan on getting another one this upcoming season. So, but telling the stories to my future kids, grandkids, is going to be a great feeling.
Yeah. Last thing for you as well. You're got you as a cybersecurity major at Fayetteville State, kind of a tech guy. Where computers and tech, is that something that you've always kind of been involved with growing up?
Yes, sir. At home, any internet issues, television issues, all that. My mama just called me. Even now, I'm 2 hours away. She's still calling me.
You're the tech support through the phone. Mom, you got to put it to HDMI 2. It's on 1 right now. You got to change the input.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Well, good getting to know a little bit more about the Bronco football players here with us today. Wanted to turn some of our focus towards the upcoming matchup at Johnson C. Smith. The Broncos are going up against the undefeated Golden Bulls. Johnson C. Smith having themselves a historic season and trying to work their way to a CIAA championship game. Broncos rolling into town and trying to play spoiler a little bit, Coach Hayes. Obviously a lot still to play for you guys going up against the Golden Bulls, and then a big rivalry game against Winston-Salem State. As you mentioned, it's a little bit of a different dynamic this year, knowing that championship game might escape you guys this season, but what is the coaching staff's message to the team at this point of the year and still playing these games tough?
We want to finish strong. We want to continue to get better. We got a lot of young kids we're starting to play now, and this is some valuable experiences that they'll get to gain over the next couple of weeks. But like I said, we just want to finish strong. Nobody's been able to solve the Johnson C. Smith puzzle this year. We feel like we got a pretty good opportunity to do that. They're going to be fired up. It's been a while since they've beaten Fayetteville State, and I know that with the season they're having, they're going to be extremely, extremely gassed up for this one. But I said it Saturday, our kids are going to have to be able to match that intensity, go up in Charlotte in the stadium they have up there, and do what we normally do, and that's just come out there with a victory.
Specifically when it comes to the matchup and what the Broncos will probably be focusing on is that Johnson C. Smith pass attack, which this year ranks as the best in the conference. Brevin Caldwell, their top receiver, leads the conference nearly 1,000 yards. What challenges, though, do you think guys like Jamari in the linebacking core and also the secondary will face going into their building with that pass attack?
Well, Coach Flowers does a great job of dialing up and calling those plays. They have a quarterback that understands the offense. He gets the ball out of his hands. It's really hard to put pressure on him. He's not necessarily a running quarterback, but he'll drop back and he'll let it go. He'll let it rip where it needs to be. Most of the time, 65, 70% of the time, is going to Caldwell. And we know that, and everybody else knows it, but he still continues to make plays. So we're going to have to figure out a scheme and a way to try to slow him down. And they also have, 3 outstanding running backs, and Crouch and Edmonds and the other young man, George, I believe his last name is. Those 3 guys, they're all different, but they all are an integral part of what they do offensively. And Coach does a great job of picking and choosing when he puts one of those guys in there to do whatever damage he needs them to do. So we're going to have to bring our A game. Offensively, we're going to have to play, Coach Tripp on the defensive side of the ball does a great job. They're the top defense in the conference, the top offense in the conference. We're going to have to play. And if we can't avoid it, we're going to get on that bus Friday. Saturday, that ball going to kick off, and ain't nobody going to care who's hurt, who's injured, or anything. It's going to be Fayetteville State against Johnson C. Smith, knowing that they're trying to, whoop our fanny real good. So we're going to have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, and I know that, the coaches are always evaluating that next level of talent, maybe a little bit deeper on the roster. What do you guys look like come next year? And I'm curious about how you guys pick your spots to evaluate some of those guys a little deeper on the depth chart over these final couple of weeks. You have your preseason practices going into next year, but not necessarily preseason games like the NFL, right, where you can evaluate that roster. So where do you pick your points this weekend against Winston-Salem State to evaluate some of those other guys and know the type of talent you'll have going into next season? Well,
it's real easy this time of year. Number one, like I told you, we're not going to the championship, and we have a plethora of injuries. So it's no time like the present then to let those guys show those young guys show what they can do in the midst of all the injuries that we have going on right now. So it's a good thing for us. We'll get to see these guys in live action against 2 pretty good football teams. So it'll give us a great advantage in going into next year about where we are with our young guys.
All right, well, kickoff just a few days away, 1 o'clock p.m. out in Charlotte as the Broncos head into Golden Bolt territory and try and put an end to Johnson C. Smith's undefeated season at this point. After that, it's the rivalry matchup, Broncos and Rams on the road at Winston-Salem, and we'll have another Pigskin Press Talk for you next week prior to that matchup against Winston-Salem State. But that'll do it for this week's Week 8 Pigskin Press Talk. A big thanks once again to the head coach Richard Hayes, running back DJ Alston, linebacker Jamari Slade. I'm Andrew Chapman. Make sure to follow along FSU Broncos social media and FSUBroncos.com this weekend for all of the live stat keeping on the road in Charlotte. We'll talk to you next week. Go Broncos. Good luck this week against Johnson C. Smith. And thanks again for tuning in to the Broncos Sports Network, everybody. See you later.